past few months, we've heard dozens of complaints about Global Visas in Cape Town that sells an emigration package to people who would never qualify for emigration. So we decided to put them to the test. We consulted migration expert Andy Kerr to find out what would exclude us outright from moving to Canada.
As you get older, the less a country wants you, unfortunately. And currently, if you're 45 years old or over for Canada, you'd get 0 points. So it'd be very, very difficult to get into Canada if you're over 45, in my belief.
Andy pointed out that Canada has very strict criteria that limit certain occupations.
Unless you're going in there on a work offer, you'd need to be on a skills list. That skills list is quite short.
Two professions that aren't on the list are teachers and recruitment consultants, so we opted for those. Well, you've heard what the expert has to say. We've come to Global Visas' main office here in Cape Town to put his views to the test. Our producer and cameraman are about to go into the building posing as 45-year-old applicants with jobs that don't rank too highly on the most sought-after list. Our team met with Global Visas consultant Martinette.
Okay, because basically it's all depending on your occupation and what you do, etc.
I'm an artist.
What kind of artist?
Well, I do both. I'm an art teacher as well.
Okay, are you lecturing at the moment or is it
No, at the moment.
But Martinette had no qualms signing up an out-of-work art teacher and his family to emigrate to Canada.
But we can do all 40, you can look at 30,000. So, yeah.
And do you think we'd qualify with, like, despite our age and that sort of thing?
Canada doesn't have a cut of pay.
And she even offered to assist with accommodation and dropped a household name.
We're going to help you. We've got Pam Golding on the other side. They help us find accommodation for you guys.
But that was just another lie in the web of deception. When we checked with Pam Golding, they denied having any relationship with Global Visas and confirmed they don't even have an office in Canada. Shortly after leaving, we were emailed a case number and account details to send the deposit, despite the fact that we really should not have qualified.
And, you know, we have heard of organisations that are not telling people that up front, clearly, taking considerable amounts of funds and keeping those funds because it's too expensive to take them to court and, you know, all that type of stuff, and it's just shocking and it's bad for our industry and we're sick of it.
This explains why the company has so many unhappy clients and consumer sites around the globe and why we get letters like this regularly.
They're big scamsters. What makes me upset is there are forums where people complain, but nobody's listening.
They give false, misleading and incorrect information, losing 25,000 rand.
I want a full refund. We have done it all ourselves without their assistance.
Cape Townians Chris and Sherry McDougall also wrote to us saying they'd been ripped off by Global Visas when they'd hired the company to help them with the move to Canada to start a family. Sherry found Global Visas on the internet and filled in their online application one Sunday night.
The Monday morning, consultant from Global Visas phoned me and she said to me, 100% you guys are eligible, but she said to me she would rather go on my husband's qualification because plumbers are a shortage skill in Canada, which means it was a guaranteed entrance into Canada. She was like, we can get you guys to Canada in 6 months' time, move, we've got to do it now.
Excited, Sherry came here to the Cape Town branch of the company.
They then also said to us that part of the pack was they had a special recruitment division that was focused on finding jobs for you. So these people would be applying jobs for you, and if there were any hits, they would obviously tell you that people were interested.
The promise of finding them work tipped the scales for the couple, who signed up and paid over 14,000 rand. But during a Skype interview, a prospective employer dropped a bombshell.
This employer advised us to then go back to Global Visas and ask them what they were, you know, if they knew what they were talking about, because plumbing is a protected trade and he's required to write an exam.
When the couple looked into it, they soon realized that Global Visas had omitted some pretty important details, like the fact that even if they went to Canada, they weren't headed for Vancouver. Instead, their immediate options were 3 virtually uninhabitable territories in northern Canada, where the temperatures often reach -40.
So when I told this to Stefan, the team leader, he sat there and he went, you're right, I'm sorry, we didn't do what we were supposed to. We need to start the refund process. And he said to me it takes 30 days for their head office to process.
That was in January, and since then the company has reneged on its promises.
He responded with an email the next day saying that the head office in London had declined the request for a refund based on the fact that they had provided an advocacy service and we're not selling a visa, we're selling an employment solution.
Phil Parker came to South Africa 4 years ago on holiday and fell in love with South African Katie Bowden. So he decided to apply for a move here and set up a business. But he needed an own business and life partner visa.
I went for Global Visas because they come across the most professional. It was 12,000 rands for the full permit.
He did the EFT, but 6 months later he was still in limbo and Global Visas weren't taking his calls.
It was just the same old story, very, very difficult to get hold of. They wouldn't respond to emails, they wouldn't respond to phone calls. Katie had to call several times on my behalf because they wouldn't answer a phone call from me.
We haven't been going forward at all in our relationship, but also in our lives, because we're constantly thinking, is this going to happen? Are we going to ever move forward? So I feel like we've been stuck for about a year and a half. Just stuck, not doing anything, just not planning anything.
In the end, Phil flew to Cape Town to sort it out with the Home Affairs Office himself. This seemed like shoddy service for what was marketed as specialist relocation services. But then we stumbled on this piece of information. Global Visas was founded by this man, Liam Clifford, a British national who, according to international consumer sites, was barred from being a company director in the UK in 2008 for 5 years. But it was open season in South Africa, so we tried calling them. Well, we put in a number of calls to Global Visas asking for an interview. Sadly, those calls have not been returned, so we've come to their office here in Cape Town to confront them ourselves. There was no one manning the reception desk at Global Visas, so we walked straight into their boiler room. Mike, is he around? And were directed to manager Michael Wallace's office.
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Can we have a few minutes of your time?
I'm just on the phone, actually, at the moment.
Okay.
So if you don't mind just being polite enough to wait for me outside in the reception area, that'd be great. Thanks, guys. About 5 minutes.
5 minutes, sure. And you'll give us some of your time after that, will you?
5 minutes, thank you.
Great. We'll see if that meeting transpires. After a few minutes, Michael re-emerged, but his attitude to our cameras remained unchanged. All right, so what are we dealing with here? Can we have it? Will you let me finish the sentence?
No, I won't actually. If you turn the camera off, I'm happy to engage with you in a conversation.
And then would you, following that conversation,
it's entirely up to you.
If we switched off the camera, do you foresee a possibility of having an on-camera interview after that?
100%.
Okay, so we'll have a discussion first, and then potentially on camera.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we can go with that. Despite his protestations to the contrary, the promised interview never happened. And we were shown the door. Now, to operate a scam, you need staff members who are prepared to toe the line, to literally live the lie. What you don't need is a staff member who has a crisis of conscience. We're on our way to meet just such a person who's going to give us the inside track into how the alleged con at Global Visas actually works. Marius, who's still on the payroll at Global Visas, says he's disillusioned.
Being in the business and seeing how people get treated and finding out that I'm selling a dream that doesn't exist, a scam, in matter of fact, for excitement led to total disappointment.
He says that the business is all about meeting their 300,000 rand a day target.
Even if a person didn't qualify, I would kind of make them qualify, because they're not going to go anywhere anyway.
What sorts of things were people asking for? Because I would imagine that being able to attach an application to a job, for example, would mean that you could extract more money from the person on the other side of the phone. So was that the plan?
Yes, it's a conjunction of a few products combined in one, which is basically the total immigration package. And that's what makes it seem so attractive. But in actual fact, it's all just lies.
We sent Global Visas some questions and again asked for an interview. All they did is respond with a legal letter, which in summary said that they were deeply disappointed by the complaints and that they always act within a code of ethics. They asserted that they have millions of successful clients and that the allegation that their clients don't get jobs is unfounded. But Marius challenges this.
I challenge Global Visas to show in the last 2 years any one person that they've sent over there found them a job and actually on the employment solution and actually made their dream come true. It doesn't happen. It hasn't happened.
Their argument is that they run a professional advocacy and advice service, but they can't guarantee a visa. In their terms and conditions, they lay all the risk at the consumer's door in contravention of the Consumer Protection Act.
I pursued it for several months after that for a refund, which only a few weeks ago they agreed to a 50% refund.
Sherry wasn't that lucky.
It frustrates me and makes me so angry to no end that there is a company out there that's taken our money for doing nothing.
So it's worth doing your homework before signing over thousands for a visa to nowhere.
And you heard it from John. Coming up, another scam. This time we find there's a dodgy way to pay traffic fines that's become a small business opportunity for some.
Ever considered paying a bribe to get your traffic fine squashed? Think again.
Maybe I can make it plan for you to squash it all together, you see.
Do not use these people that are out there. There's no way that they can help you.